The week is over. That means it's time to run it back. We're the Peach Basket. We are more than just a site. We're a team of dedicated and passionate basketball fans. Excited about these finals, excited about USA basketball, and ready to run this week back. Join us.
The voice of the fan. Drop a bounce pass, throw down the rim, rock. Lay up off the glass, right past the shot block. I follow through like Kobe's is money. You can cash it. For news on LA hoops, come over to Peach Basket. The Peach Basket.
All right, we got a few topics tonight. We're going to start with tonight's game. How can we not start with tonight's game? I'm excited to have Ajay with us. He covers the Los Angeles Lakers. We're going to talk a little bit more about them today. But first, Ajay, we got to talk about tonight's game. What a game. Phenomenal game. I wanted first, before we dive deep into, the score and who played well and who didn't, I've been meaning to do this. We have got, thankfully, quite a few partners here at Peach Basket, and more of them are, sports-related sites. And I always think it's kind of interesting. What they do is pretty amazing in terms of predicting these games. This is what the bulk of them, including Vegas, thought about tonight's Game 5. And I think it's interesting to look at it now that we know how it ended. But first, teams that win Game 5, when they're tied 2-2, go on to win 82.8% of the time. That bodes really well for the Milwaukee Bucks. Of course, it doesn't mean anything. This is a weird season, so these numbers probably go out the window because nothing about the season has been normal. But if history is any indicator, the Bucks are in good shape. Now, this is what Vegas thought before tonight's game. Predicted score after 10,000 simulations was 112-108. The Suns lost. The Suns had a 65% win probability, and the Phoenix Suns were a 4-point favorite with an over-under of 220. Over-under, the end game result was considerably over. So, Jay, I welcomed you, and then I went right to this. So, sorry about that. Nice to have you here, as always. Tell me your thoughts now in terms of, let's start with, the Game 5 winner. 82% of the time, historically, these teams go on to win. Clearly, the Bucks in the driver's seat, but do you see them as an 82% favorite now?
Yeah, I see the Bucks as an 82% favorite just because throughout this whole series, the main thing I haven't seen the Suns, what they've really done for the adjustments, they've let Giannis go one-on-one against DeAndre Ayton, and they're not giving DeAndre Ayton any help. And that puts a lot of pressure on DeAndre Ayton because not only are you telling DeAndre Ayton, I need you to play spectacular on defense, but I need you to go give me 20 on the other end. It's really hard to do that, when you're guarding a player such as Giannis, who is just a bull rusher when he gets a head start and going to the paint. For me, I've always thought after going up even 2-1 when they lost that Game 3, okay, maybe it's time to double Giannis. He's giving you back-to-back 40-point games, start doubling and force the other guys to beat you, And they still haven't done that. And now the problem is for the Phoenix Suns, Chris Middleton's got it going and Drew Holiday's got it going. So now the Bucks' big three is just clicking and rolling. So now it might be too late to even double Giannis because now the whole team is clicking, and I think it's going to be over on Tuesday. Not saying it's going to be a blowout, but I think the series is over on Tuesday.
And I'll tell you something that's come up about Giannis's game. I think in the last couple of games, certainly tonight. If you were to double team him, he's good enough now to make the right pass. He wasn't when he started out his career. He is good enough to make that pass now. He's made some incredible passes tonight. I wouldn't call him a playmaker, but he does not make dumb mistakes as often as he used to. You're in trouble. Now, pick your poison, right? If you're the Suns, you're either, like you said, going to double team Giannis and get it to hot Middleton, hot Drew Holiday. Even Brook Lopez was hitting his shots tonight for the most part. This is a hot team, and they're a balanced team, and they're a real good defensive team. Which leads me to, it's not really our question of the day, something we used to do before, but it is the big question after tonight's game. The Suns are now down 3-2. This team has not really faced adversity, really. I don't even know, looking back, if they were favorites against the Lakers, but nobody would have been surprised if the Lakers would have beat them. And you and I think agree that if they were healthy, the Lakers would have beat them. But they didn't face a healthy Lakers team. They didn't feed a healthy Nuggets team. They didn't face a healthy Clippers team. Now they're facing a healthy Bucks team. They've got some adversity. Do they stand a chance? I know you said you see them as an 85% underdog, but I mean, do you think there's any hope that they, win in Milwaukee? And if they do, can they take Game 7 in Phoenix?
I don't want to say I know I said it's over. Do they stand a chance? Of course, there's always a chance when you got talent like Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, and Chris Paul. I just don't see it happening, especially like this with the stats we just said. 85% of the time, a winner of Game 5 has ended up winning the series. But then again, history has shown us the Lakers in 2010, they were down 3-2 to Boston Celtics. They came back, won Game 6 and 7, and then even as the last team, the Cleveland Cavaliers, if I remember correctly, with LeBron James down 3-1. Then they got it at 3-2, 3-3, and they won the series. Yeah. So never say never, but I just think it's over now. And usually throughout NBA history, a team has to go through ups and downs in order to win a title. And the Bucks have had their fair shares of ups and downs leading up to these moments, like losing to the Heat to the first round, choking against the Toronto Raptors up 2-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals. So the Bucks have been through the trials and tribulations. So I don't see the Bucks letting this opportunity slip. I think they're going to close it out on Tuesday.
Great point, right? Joel Embiid famously said, "Trust the process," right? For his Sixers, and they're still waiting for that ring. But you think of Michael Jordan; he got beat up by the Pistons before he became Michael Jordan. Magic Johnson, and Larry Bird beat each other up before they got through each other to get there. These Bucks got beat up. They got close. They have been a great regular season team, but just always fell short. They have definitely paid their dues. And they looked like a championship team tonight. They took the Suns' first punch in that first quarter and just came back hard in that second quarter and never looked back. I mean, never looked back. That's what a championship team does. And they did it in Phoenix with a full crowd of people that were screaming and yelling, something we haven't really seen in the NBA in about a year. So I agree with you. Do they have a chance? Of course they do, right? As long as, the game isn't over, as long as, nobody's won 4, there's still a chance. But it's going to take something spectacular from the Suns. And I think you called out the right guy. Chris Paul from Game 1 has really seen a decline. I think he's being guarded better. And, he's kind of unfortunately showing his age a little bit. He might be a little worn down. Booker's been good. He was great tonight. But DeAndre Ayton, you called him out earlier. I think that's exactly the guy. What I said for the Suns to win, I thought Chris Paul had to be Chris Paul. He had to be at least as good as he was against the Clippers. Same with Book and same with Ayton. The key was going to be the other guys, Bridges, Cam Johnson, Cam Payne. Those guys they've been okay. But Ayton is falling off a cliff, and really so is Chris Paul. So it's going to have to take a 50, 60-point game, I think, from Booker, if things stay the same. I don't know how likely that is. A problem I have with the Phoenix Suns thing having a chance is because Devin Booker is having these great games, and they're still losing, right? Yeah.
But my thing is, that takes a lot of energy to do it on a consistent basis. So eventually, when is Devin Booker gonna have a bad game? Because it's eventually gonna happen. You can't do that for so long and not get any W's out of it. I think Phoenix is letting a lot of these great games by Devin Booker slip away, and eventually it's gonna catch up to him. I wouldn't be surprised if Game 6 Booker has a bad game and the media crushes him, but that's not his fault. He's been carrying Phoenix, and he's probably due for a bad game, honestly. And I wouldn't be surprised if it comes in a closeout game like that.
Good point. All right. Well, let's change subjects now. I think we've covered this one good enough. We'll see how things turn out on Tuesday. Who's your Finals MVP? This is always a conversation that you start talking about right about now. There's only been one MVP from a losing team. I don't know that it'll happen. It's only happened once. The only reason I bring it up is because the odds-on favorite right now is Chris Paul. But that was before tonight. That might have even been before Game 4. He's fallen off a cliff, like we said. So I don't know that he is the odds-on favorite right now. If we assume the Bucks are going to win, who's your MVP?
This is tough because The easy answer would be Giannis because,
Sure.
but the thing for me is like even when the series began, we saw Giannis have great games, and they still lost the series, right? I mean the games. I'm sorry, they still lost the games. But if you notice, when the Bucks started winning, Chris Middleton has been their closer for them and getting huge buckets, and he's not just averaging like 15 or 20 points. He's getting like 30 points, 28. Didn't he drop 40 that one game against Booker too? Was it game 4 when he went 40? So I think for me, like, I would love to see the NBA do some history, like co-finals MVP. I just don't see it happening. I think they're just going to – I think Giannis is going to get it because he's been probably statistically the better player since Chris Middleton didn't show up the first 2 games. But I want to show Chris Middleton some love because if Chris Middleton is not performing like this or closing out these games, the Bucks wouldn't be in this situation up 3-2 as well. I'm going to say Giannis, but Chris Middleton definitely deserves some consideration for Finals MVP.
Yeah, I think if things go the way they're going, I would agree with you. Most valuable player has always been such a fuzzy thing for the regular season pick and the Finals MVP pick. I don't really know what they mean it to mean. Right? I think you're right. 9 out of 10 times they just go with the best player, and maybe not even the best player, but the face of the team that won. Giannis is definitely the face of the Bucks. But if you remove Giannis, then you've got somebody else in there who can hit free throws, which is his one Achilles heel. But if you remove Chris Middleton, I don't think these last 2 games go to the Bucks, right? They won because of Chris Middleton. So is he more valuable? It's tough. I agree. I think it'd be great to see them, pick 2, but we'll see. Right now, I think certainly after tonight, I think Giannis is probably the leader in that race. But we'll see. What's interesting about the NBA, what's interesting about a 7-game series, and what's interesting about sports in general is last week when we did our show last week, the Bucks were down 0-2, and everybody was talking about, they're done. Yeah. The Suns are going to win the final. I can't believe it. And then the Bucks win game 3, the Bucks win game 4, Bucks win game 5. And now it's like, wow, it's just amazing how quickly the tide turns. It could turn again. If Chris Paul has another game like he had in the closeout against the Clippers and then duplicates that in game 7, certainly he's the MVP. Yes. That's why we watch sports. That's the reason we love it, because you never know.
Suns are going to look back in this series, and specifically Chris Paul, that game 4. Honestly, the Bucks had no business winning that game. And the fact that they gave the momentum back to the Bucks, and you can see how it translated game 5 and they won the series. Not only is it going to affect the Suns more so for their future, but how does Chris Paul's legacy look is going to be the question this offseason. Like, he's had so many meltdown careers, like Clippers game 5, things of that nature. Not to stay away from the topic, but it's going to be an interesting conversation regarding Chris Paul's career, A lot of meltdowns for sure. And he's one of my favorite players of all time.
Yeah, he's fun to watch, but I think I'll leave the balance of that alone. But he's definitely a great player, and we'll see how things play out for him. All right, let's go to our second to last topic now. This is a topic near and dear to your heart, Ajay. I will say that Jay is a Laker fan. He covered the Lakers for the Peach Basket this season. We'll hopefully do the same next season. Yes, sir. Did a great job, knows the team really well. He is the epitome of what we call fan experts. He is a fan who knows the team. He is smart enough to know that even though I put a picture of Dame Lillard, the chances of the Lakers getting him are slim to none. But let's talk about what the Lakers do need to do. This is an important offseason for them. They have got a phenomenal duo. LeBron obviously is getting a little older. AD has always been a little injury prone, but I think all the eggs are in those 2 baskets, right? So they either need to bring in a third superstar and then just, fill in the rest with whatever they can get, or they just need to get what? I mean, I have my thoughts. Give me yours. What is the Lakers' biggest need this offseason?
My thoughts right off the bat is they need a playmaker, because I think this is going to be the first time in LeBron's career he's going to be playing more off the ball more than onto the ball more, because that's just too much responsibility. Even if you think he is the best player in the world at his age, he should not be dominating the ball like that and making every single play. Because we've seen what happens when LeBron goes to the bench. There's literally not another playmaker because Dennis Schroeder wasn't living up to that role as he was expected to before the season starts. So looking over at the point guard list quickly, I mean, there are some good point guards out there. Mike Conley, Kyle Lowry, Dragic, Schroeder still out there if the Lakers want to bring him back. Chris Paul is going to be an interesting one just because Phoenix can't afford to keep him. They got to pay Mikal Bridges. They got to pay DeAndre Ayton. And especially if they lose the series, you never know. This could turn into a situation where Chris Paul is going to go ring chasing. And he is LeBron's best pal. So just to throw that out there. And then we're hearing rumors of Lonzo Ball, like a sign and trade deal. I'd personally like that move more than getting Chris Paul because not only is he a great defender, he's put in the work, and you've seen him become a better three-point shooter. I think he shot 38% from the field this year from three. And from the free throw line, when he was first a Laker, he was like 40 to 50. Now he's like a 70% free throw shooter. So now he's not a liability on the court. He can play both ways, and he's improved such enough where you can depend on Lonzo, where he can hit that open shot and create space for LeBron and AD. My second point for the Lakers to get, because Lakers need a center, Marc Gasol just wasn't cutting it. An interesting name. I'm gonna go back out there. Maybe the Lakers. I don't know if they want to rekindle that championship that they won in the bubble. But JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard are free agents, and they're not gonna command that much money. So I don't know if you can. I'm not saying you can snag both, but maybe you can snag one of them and offer them an opportunity. Like, hey, I know you can play for this team and get more money, but we need a starting center, so we can present you a championship contender and a starting role in our team. I think those are the two main points besides getting a shooter, but Lakers definitely need a center and a playmaker.
Yeah. And the only thing I'll add to that, because I couldn't agree more, I think the Lakers need a center that doesn't need the ball, right? I thought Andre Drummond was an interesting fit. I was never particularly a big fan of his, but this is a guy who, I don't know, you can tell based on his offseason comments, he wanted the ball. All right. He was used to being the guy. And we don't need a guy in Los Angeles at the center position who wants to be the guy. We need a guy who's going to do the dirty work, grab the rebounds, make the good outlet pass, defend the rim. Somebody like DeAndre Ayton. And I'm just saying somebody like. I'm not saying DeAndre Ayton is the right guy, but I'm saying somebody like him who the Clippers, when he was with the Clippers, they never called to play for him. But, he still was an anchor defensively. And again, JaVale McGee fits that bill perfectly. I mean, I just think he'd be great. Dwight, obviously a little older, but takes care of himself. I mean, I think he'd be great too. This is somebody who would probably be good for 15, 20 minutes. And then, oftentimes, they'll probably swap him out, go small. I agree with you. I think they need a center, but it's specifically a center who doesn't need any plays called for him. The biggest need aside from that and a playmaker, in my estimation, is shooters. But you called out, right? The Lonzo Ball, if he's the right guy, has been a good shooter, certainly getting better. And so that would be, a really good fit for the Lakers. So, I agree with you. I couldn't agree more. Just out of curiosity, because I do think it's kind of an interesting situation. The Lakers, as you know, are pretty tied up because they've got a lot of they're right up against it. And the biggest issue when I looked at it, I didn't look in depth admittedly, but when I looked at it, I saw Montrezl Harrell, who has got a player option. So I don't know right now. He's had kind of an off year, certainly with the Lakers, but he's a six man, and we know what he can do if he's given the kind of minutes the Clippers gave him. But he's a bit of a liability in the playoffs. We've seen that with the Clippers and the Lakers now. So if I am Montrezl Harrell, I think I opt in. I get that money because I don't think I can get that kind of money in right now in free agency. Yeah. So I think that really messes the Lakers up because now they've got a little bit more money dedicated to a guy that I don't know that they necessarily want to move forward with. So then you got to trade him. You're certainly not going to release him, or you're going to play him. I mean, I hate to throw this on you because we didn't really talk about it before, but what do you think the Lakers' plan is for Trez?
No, that's good you asked me that because I've been reading about how the salary cap works. From what I'm reading, I think from what I've read, the Lakers are hoping Montrezl opts in because when the Lakers signed him, they gave him the MLE, the mid-level exception. So if he opts out, you just lose that, and you don't got that much cap space anyways because LeBron and AD are taking up so much of the cap space that it's going to be hard to find another mid-level exception player like Montrezl Harrell. So from what I read, they're hoping he opts in. From what I read, and whether he stays on the team or not, that's a different story. I think the Lakers are, like you said, they're hoping he opts in at least so they can use him as a trade asset. So, for example, if Lonzo Ball is really on the table, maybe they can tell the Pelicans, like, hey, we can give you Montrez, we can give you Kuz, we could give you like a couple first-round picks for a Lonzo Ball deal, something like that, Because I think the three untouchable players on the Lakers roster this year, well, this offseason, I should say, obviously LeBron and AD. I don't think THT is going anywhere. THT is probably gone if it means Damian Lillard is on the way.
Sure.
But I highly doubt Damian Lillard is coming. The only way Damian Lillard, I'm going to tell all Laker fans right now, the only way Damian Lillard is coming, he would literally have to force his way to LA just like James Harden forced his way to Brooklyn. Like he would have to throw a temper tantrum so crazy, like it's so nuts that no other team is willing to trade for Damian Lillard, and his main focus is just LA. Or unless he wants to send Twitter into frenzy and he fires his agent, and then he gets Rich Paul, which is LeBron James' agent, and then that's it. But other than that, there's no way Dame's. I guess I shouldn't say no way, but there's 1% chance that Dame Lillard is going to be a Laker.
All right, this is the 1%. Because I think this is the only way I think it would work because the salaries line up. Do you trade if you are Rob Pelinka and Neil O'Shea from Portland calls you, says, we'll give you Dame, you give us AD straight up, boom. Do you make that trade?
No, I don't think the Lakers would make it because they've seen the Lakers had the benefit of seeing AD when healthy, how he can be a force changer in the game offensively and defensively. Dame, he's a force, no doubt. But part of the reason, I hate to say it because Dame's a great player, but part of the reason why Portland's defense is so bad is because Dame's not a great defender on the perimeter, And with the league being so perimeter-oriented, you got to have somewhat of a defense out there. I'm not saying he's the worst defender out there, but it's not like Dame is also a lockdown defender that's a two-way player, So I don't think the Lakers are going to make that deal, especially since LeBron's the one that advocated for the Lakers to go get me AD. I just don't see there's too much politics behind the scene, because they're both represented by Rich Paul. So I don't think anything's going to happen of that sort of nature, And they both just signed extensions last summer. What was AD's extension? 4 or 5 years? And then
I want to say 4.
And then LeBron also signed a 4-year deal, right, as well?
No, I think LeBron's only got another 2. His lines up with Bron, his son Bronny being available. I'm pretty sure he's unrestricted in 2 seasons.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Give me 1 second. I'm pulling it up. It's on CNN. It says LeBron James agrees contract extension with the Los Angeles Lakers. Let me see how long it goes. First off, oh yeah, so he's going to remain a Laker until the 2022-2023 season. So pretty much LeBron's going to end his career as a Laker. So I just don't see, with both of them being represented by Rich Paul and what LeBron has done for the Lakers, he came by himself. And then he orchestrated, whether people want to admit it or not, he orchestrated AD coming here. I just don't see the Lakers trading Anthony Davis for Damian Lillard.
Outstanding. So to recap, Lakers' biggest needs, and I couldn't agree more, playmaker. Right now, really all they got is LeBron. They need another playmaker. And then a center. I think a center who's not going to demand the ball. Be interesting offseason for the Lakers, absolutely. Great points. Let's move on to our final thought, our final topic. Now, I'll be real honest. I didn't watch a lot. I know that the USA team lost to Nigeria, then followed that up with a loss to Australia. And then they lost Kevin Love, who just didn't feel like he was in game shape, and then Bradley Beal. So it doesn't look good for the USA men's team right now. But I know you wanted to talk about it. So what are your thoughts on USA basketball right now?
Yeah, I've watched Team USA a couple games. Obviously, it's just exhibition. So I know people are still worried because they've lost 2 games and they won 1, but I'm not too worried too much unless they lose a group stage game. Then I'll start really worrying, this team's in shambles. They got to do something. And then I don't know, maybe because it was due to the short offseason for the NBA players that they couldn't get the replacements to replace a Bradley Beal and a Kevin Love. Because honestly, I don't know if you were shocked, Jose, but when I saw JaVale McGee and Keldon Johnson, I was like, yeah, they're NBA players, but I was expecting like another star player or someone to join the roster, you know. But either way, looking at the groups, I know you took a quick look at the groups. USA's Group A, they're Czech Republic, France, Iran, and USA finishes it. I think USA is still going to win the group. So I think they'll have like a somewhat easy path to get to the gold medal game. The most interesting group, in my opinion, we talked about it earlier before the show started, Jose. Group C, Spain, Slovenia, Japan, and Argentina. Like, that's going to be a fun group to watch. Like, if you're a basketball head, like, I suggest everybody watch Group C because this is Slovenia's first time making the Olympics, which was a big deal. And Luka Doncic, I mean, he said something controversial to the people in the U.S., but to me, it made sense as a basketball fan. He said winning a gold medal for Slovenia would mean more to him than winning a championship for the Mavericks. But people in the United States don't understand, like we win the gold medal all the time, so it doesn't hold much value to us as a country. Like, the NBA Finals holds more to us than the gold medal. But to a country like Slovenia, who's never made the Olympics, could you imagine for the first time getting in ever and Luka Doncic pull that off? He's probably going to make the Basketball Hall of Fame already off the bat. Like, So I think there's going to be a lot of interesting storylines. So I think a team to keep an eye out for personally is Slovenia. Like, so I'm really interested in this year's Olympics for sure.
Let me put it to you, a different way, because what a great topic. I love Luka's honesty, right? If Luka were to deliver a goal for his country, he's the biggest thing in Slovenia ever, right? Now,
it might be all of Europe, man.
Yeah. No, it would be unbelievable. Lionel Messi, right? Great soccer / football player. Won everything there was to win with his club, Barcelona, right? So think of Barcelona as the Lakers, right? So they win championships, but every time he puts on the light blue and white of Argentina, he can't win the World Cup. He can't win the Copa America. He can't win for his country, and it wears on him, right? You're saying it. You're absolutely right. The United States, all we had to do is put on the red, white, and blue, go out there, and they would just wrap the gold medal around our necks until they didn't, right? And then we got serious. We brought the pros, and we got the gold back. So we're just so used to it in a way that not that we don't appreciate it. I think the guys appreciate it, but when you've never won it. When Messi just recently won the Copa America for Argentina, he's kind of a nondescript guy. He doesn't have a whole lot of emotion, but just a smile on his face. You could tell just a weight off his shoulders. And it meant as much to him, I'm sure, as all the trophies he won with Barcelona. And I think that's what Luka was trying to say. I didn't know that it caused any controversy, man. I guess I read that and I go, yeah, I get it. But great point.
Yeah, it made a couple of headlines specifically towards like the Dallas Mavericks fans. Were like, "Oh, what did he say?" I'm like,
sure.
And I'm like, because you know how the whole rumor before the offseason was like Luka's like gonna sign that Supermax and he's probably gonna leave us. I'm like, dude, like he's actually telling you guys the truth. Like, first time ever just the fact that Slovenia made the basketball Olympics is an achievement in itself. But to get like a gold, to win a gold, like because they're probably gonna face USA. So could you imagine if Luka Doncic took down Kevin Durant? James Harden, like all these guys on the team still, and like they win the gold, like it would be the biggest thing for Luka's career.
It'd be a great story, but as you mentioned, they've got to get past Argentina, Japan, which may not be too difficult.
Yeah, Spain.
But then Spain, that's a tough group to get out of. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm excited. I think it'll be fun. I don't know that we had planned to really cover the Olympic Games, but I think it's silly of us not to. So I think we might check and see if we can't get people to line up and own a country here and follow that. I think that'd be fun. I got Argentina. Yeah. That's where I'm from. That's where I was born. So I'm excited to kind of follow that team and see how they go. I'm glad you brought this up. Great topic, great conversation. That's our show for tonight. We are Peach Basket. We are more than just a website. We are a group of passionate, dedicated basketball fans, really made up of fan experts like Ajay. If you are watching and you enjoyed the content, then you're probably a fan expert. We'd love for you to hit our site, reach out to us. We've got some news coming as our site goes through a rebranding of sorts. More on that soon. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back again
The voice
next
of
week.
fan. Drop a bounce pass, throw down the rim rocker. Lay up off the glass, right past the shot blocker. I follow through like Kobe's is money. You can cash it. For news on LA hoops, come over to Big Basket. Up-to-date sports, post-game reports, debates and play-by-play coming straight off the court. The voice of the fan making noise, causing havoc. Zone a man up, you can ask Peach Basket. The Peach Basket, coming tune on there. The Peach Basket, where the news begins. We're dropping news like we're in the stands. Creative views from the average fans.